ENTJs, they have high extroversion, high openness to experiences, very high organization, but very low agreeableness. ENTJs are part of the MBTI analyst group, the intuitive thinkers like INTJs, INTPs, and ENTPs. And like their sister types, their main mission in life is to constantly absorb knowledge, but with one big difference. ENTJs want to transform this knowledge into something practical and useful. This type tries to transform everything into a learning experience, including their relationships. Those that don't offer any chance of growth are of little interest to the ENTJs. This type likes to be in control of things. They like to define the borders and the boundaries, and especially to be on top of them. In conversation, they are very direct and confrontational, leading those close to the ENTJs to need a great personal strength to put up with this. Some strengths of this type is their financial skills, their verbal fluency, their ability to turn conflict situations into positive lessons, their ability to welcome constructive criticism, their extreme high standards and expectations, which is both a strength and a weakness. And speaking of those, some weaknesses of this type are their tendency to criticize opinions and attitudes that don't match their own, their tendency to always want to be in charge instead of sharing responsibilities, their tendency to explode with terrible tempers when under extreme stress, their difficulty listening to others, and their difficulty expressing love and affection, sometimes even being intimidating, making people not to want to approach them. As a dominant function, TE, the dominant extroverted thinking, manifests as the ability to clearly envision the most effective outcome to any given situation or problem, and the ability to set the corresponding plans into action. It is what makes the ENTJs very objective, very efficient, and work-oriented, leaving little time or no interest to almost anything else that doesn't seem productive or that doesn't show any obvious and apparent reward related to the effort they may impregnate to a certain task. This is what makes the ENTJ look like almost every great villain in a cliché movie, trying to control the world like Sauron, Kibutsuji Musen, Sukuna, Napoleon Bonaparte, Steve Jobs, Mr. Beat, or just Nicki Minaj. The dominant TE monologue is, I will achieve my goal by any means necessary. Next, as an auxiliary function, the introverted intuition NI manifests itself as a high responsibility, giving ENTJ an understanding of how to achieve their own goals based on a keen intuitive perception of how various courses of action are most likely to unfold. It is as if they have a single-minded vision that they want to accomplish and make it come to real life. This is what makes the ENTJ so determined, but also look like they could burn the whole world down just to make this vision come to fruition. The NI auxiliary monologue is, how can I use my intuitive knowledge about how things are connected to achieve what I want? In ENTJs, the extroverted sensing SE comes in third place, so it is not one of this type's strongest points and can be somewhat childish sometimes. It is what makes this type sometimes wanting to show off the conquers they have made. If it is not healthy, it can make them seem stubborn, critical, cynical, or dissatisfied, appearing controlling and bossy, with the unconscious intention of repressing feelings of uncertainty and insecurity, leading them to overindulge in sensory and physical pleasures, to release their obsessions and compulsions that were so much inhibited due to their desire to work. The SC tertiary monologue is, I prefer to plan everything in advance, but when necessary, I can think surprisingly well without it, because I'm always in tune with what's going on around me. As an inferior function, FI, or introverted feeling, manifests as a general disdain for emotional expression and a fear of being perceived as weak by others, As FI matures, its user will begin to identify the role their own personal morals play in their lives, and allow those morals to take on a greater role in their decision-making processes. The inferior FI monologue prior to maturation would be, "Feelings are for the weak. I have no time to attend to such trivial matters, in either myself or in others." To overcome this, ENTJs should appreciate the value of activities that are not directly related to work. Once, even in these times that they are doing things that doesn't seem productive, they can actually gain the value of values that would help them into these other areas of their lives. Possibility relies where we least want to look at after all. And to develop this, the INTPs and ISTPs will be the best or the perfect combo to balance the ENTJ's desire to work with a more relaxed way of expressing those impulses. Comparing with other types, the ENTPs are much more charismatic, fun, and intelligent, although lazier and not so obsessed with work. ESTPs are much more impulsive overall, and not only with their anger like the ENTJs are. ESTJs prefer to have regular jobs than starting new businesses like the ENTJs do, and INTJs are much more idealistic, preferring the world they have inside their heads instead of getting in action and making these plans come to fruition and put them in motion. The ENTJs act first and think or idealize later, so to speak. In fiction, there are characters like Light Yagami from Death Note, Azula from Avatar, and Patrick Bateman from American Psycho. In real life, there are people like Dio Brando from JoJo, Eric Cartman from South Park, Lord Voldemort from Harry Potter, Madara Uchiha from Naruto, and the most evil ENTJ of all, Peppa Pig. Dear God.